Hello and good morning here from Zolder, Belgium. The weather forecast is almost perfect. It's dry, sunshine in the afternoon, and now we are waiting here for the qualifying European Truck Racing Championship here in Zolder, Belgium. And I have a guest at my side, Georg Fuchs. Hello and good morning. Thank you for your time. What are your expectations now for the qualifying?
I think for the qualifying we can see very close fights, especially between Norbert Kiss, Jochen Hahn. Free practice yesterday showed that they are very close together, but I think we also should have a look and do not forget about Sascha Lenz, who is very close to Norbert Kiss in the championship standings, but also all the others. It's very close battle.
What do you think? What will be decisive today for the qualifying and for the Super Pole?
Of course, it's experience on one side, the weather on the other hand, because in the past, Bugiras always showed very strength in rainy conditions. But I think the fight is quite close, also with the championship contenders. We shouldn't forget about Sascha Lenz. We shouldn't forget also on the Goodyear Cup about the fight between Theo Calvé and Shane Brereton, Jamie Anderson. So I think the season is still on and have very exciting battles and races ahead.
I think so too. It's the fifth weekend now. Four more with today. Four more to come. What do you think? How close it will be for the final?
I think it can be very, very close. It will be tense for sure for all the teams, because now we have every second week, even one times we have a double header. So there is a lot of action in very, very short time until we reach the season final in Misano. So it will be tense. I think it is. One part is that drivers have to do and to give the best on the track, but on the other hand, also the mechanics have to do a very good job to get the trucks repaired and really score points. It's all about scoring points.
That was Georg Fuchs from ETRA. Thank you very much. And now we look at the last weekend in Moss. It was very, very close, and Norbert Kiss, he was a very important driver at this weekend. Let's have a look.
To start the weekend at the tricky Autodrome Most, well, it was moist. Eventually, though, it would be to no avail. Norbert Kiss would hold on with superior pace over Sascha Lenz towards the end of the race to take the checkered flag and his third race win in a row.
I was struggling a little bit with the drying up circuit, but it was good enough. So I'm really happy for the victory. I'm really happy for the team, and thankful for the guys for the hard work that they put in the summer.
And after a very exciting race one, which saw Norbert Kiss take his third win of the season, it was time to get race two underway at Autodrome Most. Out of the chicane, Norbert got a fantastic run. Andre tried to close the door and defend, and there was contact. Norbert would stay alongside, and around the outside of the right-hander at turn 5, he'd be on the inside for turn 6, where he would get the lead and stay there.
Yes, maybe I can get a little advantage, and maybe we can go on the first place. We don't know.
To start Sunday off, we had a fantastic qualifying session that would see only 17 thousandths of a second between eventual pole sitter Jochen Hahn and Norbert Kiss. Norbert Kiss would eventually take yet another win this season with 21 seconds as an advantage over everybody else. With the reverse grid putting Antonio Albacete on pole position, he and Shane Brereton wanted to really prove a point in the final race of the weekend at Most. Eventually, the win would go to Sascha Lenz. Not too many positions shuffled around behind him.
What an exciting weekend in Most. Now we look forward for the qualifying. Your commentators are Jack Worrell and Hans-Joachim Eberts.
Hello everybody and welcome to round 5 of the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. My name is Jack Werrell and I will be assisting you through all of the action available to us this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. Of course, we've got lots of on-track action with there being 2 qualifying sessions, 2 Super Pole sessions and 4 races spread out over this weekend. And Super Pole, I think it's going to be closer than it's ever been because the championship fights are getting closer and closer, and we keep seeing that rivalry between Norbert Kish and Sascha Lenz constantly get closer as well. We saw it last time out at Most, and I'm sure you saw it in those highlights very gratefully covered by Chaz Draycott, who isn't here this weekend. He is at Red Bull Ring commentating on another series, but I've managed to take the reins off him for this weekend. And what a circuit for it. Zolder, a brilliant circuit steeped in history. It's got, like I say, lots of history behind it. It held 10 Formula One championship races spread between 1973 and 1983. It's played host to Super League Formula, Champ Car, the Blancpain Series, and most recently DTM, of course, the FIA ETRC and the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. So lots of racing action has been held here at Zolder, and we are yet further going to add to it today, around about 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers, depending on which term you use. Lots of tarmac to be chewed up today, 11 turns, 3 of which are chicanes, so everybody will be bunched up. And racing trucks of this size, we could find some very, very close battles throughout the races. So lots of on-track action to look forward to. You can see all the drivers now heading out onto the circuit for the first of our qualifying sessions this weekend. We are riding on board on the number 25 machine, Heinrich Clemens Hecker. He is one of the 3 drivers we have on board cameras with this weekend, the other 2 being Jamie Anderson and Norbert Kish. I'll really be looking forward to riding on board the number 41 of Norbert Kish's machines. Of course, he has been really competitive throughout the season. He's up at the top of the standings, so potentially we could end up with some great viewpoints throughout this weekend. Another notable driver, Jochen Hahn, of course, the Iveco that he's in this weekend and has been throughout the season, potentially somewhat out of place, currently 5th place in the standings, somewhat adrift of Norbert Kish up at the top of the standings. Of course, Jochen was the champion in 2011, 2012, 2013, 16, 18 and 19. And the years he wasn't champion, he was pretty much second. 2014, 15 and 17, he was second in the championship. So this season somewhat out of place, but of course with it being a development season for his Iveco, I'm sure next season everything will come to him. But we're not too late in the season for everything to swap around. Of course, we've got Le Mans next time out, as well as Misano for the final round with Harama in between. So there's plenty of time for him to turn it around, plenty of races still to go. Of course, this weekend we are here for races 9, 10, 11 and 12 of the season. Sadly, we couldn't get out to Nürburgring for both weekends due to the flooding, but I've got to say the One Truck family really did come in and help with that. So a massive shout out to One Truck family for helping everybody affected by those floods. But here at Zolder, hopefully we don't have any such weather. It's looking rather overcast throughout the weekend. A very small chance of rain today, that's for sure. But tomorrow, hopefully, the heavens won't open and we should end up with a little bit of sunshine if we're lucky as well. And with differing conditions such as that, we could see the drivers slowly start to work their way into a different mould. So potentially we're seeing certain drivers come through in the different weathers. We could find a driver potentially is slightly quicker in the wet than is in the dry, and the other way around, of course, as well. So there's a couple of variables throughout this weekend, and Zolder being one of those circuits, it's fairly narrow at other points, fairly wide at others, but we do have some very heavy, some very shallow braking zones. We've got a couple of straights, and like I mentioned, 3 chicanes. So if you're a specialist of this circuit, in all weathers, this is the one that you absolutely need to nail, because there's a lot of points on offer, and with qualifying on the way, potentially we could see a few drivers work their way through the cracks. And with Super Pole being for the top 10 as well, that is when it's all to play for. All you really need to do in the qualifying session is get yourself into that top 10 and then really focus on charging forward and pushing for that lap time. So we will very shortly see what is going to happen. We do have a very minor delay, but the action will be with you in a few moments' time, I can guarantee that. Of course, all the trucks out on circuit this weekend are on Bio-HVO diesel, which is 100% renewable, which is absolutely brilliant, not just for the series, but for motorsports in general as well. And the FIA European Truck Racing Championship aims to be absolute net zero by 2038, by the very latest. So it could be sooner than that, which of course is absolutely brilliant for motorsport once again, being absolute net zero with zero emissions. So we've got all that to look forward to. And you've got to think, being net zero and still driving trucks as quick as this, while they are limited to 100 miles an hour, of course, for safety, they're not exactly light things. They've got a minimum weight of 5.1 tons, which isn't exactly light, 5.3 tons, pardon me, which isn't exactly light, and 3,150 kilos has all got to be over the front axle. It can be anywhere else after that, but at least 3.1 of those tons has to be over that front axle, and around about 1,200 horsepower, 5,500 Newton meters of torque, or 4,000 pound-feet, depending on which term you use. And that can propel these trucks right the way up from 20 to 100 miles an hour in the same speed as a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. So they definitely don't hang about. 5.3 tons worth of truck accelerating up to 100 miles an hour in the same speed as a modern sports car. They're definitely purebred machines. You can see everybody just working their way into a neat little line at the end of the pit lane. Leading that line, the number 41 of Norbert Kish. And just sat behind him is Sasha Lenz. And we've got Adam Lachko. I think they're pretty much in championship standings. Very briefly looking at it, everybody working their way around, just grabbing reverse where they need to, grabbing first where they need to once again. I think that's a lot of shuffling going on there. You can see the number 24 tank pool 24 racing machine of Stefan Faas on the right hand side of your screen, just sat waiting. Then we've got the Iveco S-Way pace truck coming down the pit lane. So everybody's just got to bide their time at the moment, wait for everything to fall into place, and we will have some on-track action for you very, very shortly. Of course, Moss last time out, we saw very mixed weather conditions. The track was never really dry, apart from very late on Sunday. We saw some differing conditions is probably the best way to put it. Overcast in the morning, spots of rain. It almost had elements of the Nürburgring about it, because half the track was very wet and half the track was still somewhat damp. So the drivers had to adapt to that as the race wore on. You can see here from the front of Heinrich Clemens-Hecker in the number 25 MAN, some cement dust being put down. So I think some oil has been deposited on the pit lane. Everything's getting cleared up now, and of course, great work by our circuit staff to get everything cleaned up promptly so we can get on-track action. And now we can see the number 41 machine of Norbert Kish, the MAN, leaving the pit lane with Sasha Lenz in tow. Adam Lachko just sat behind, and Antonio Alberthetti, the fourth car onto the circuit, followed by Jochen Hahn, and then the number 44 of Steffi Harm. So lots of horsepower all leaving the pit lane on their way to their qualifying session. 20 minutes of qualifying on the way, on top of Super Pole as well. So the top 10 trucks battle it out for those starting positions. Norbert Kish leading the way at the moment, the Hungarian driver. And heading through Kanalbocht now. It's just getting everything up to temperature. Like we mentioned, very, very heavy pieces of machinery with lots of power, so you want to make sure it's within its optimal window. Everything, brakes, engine, oil, tyres, more importantly, up to temperature, so you can really navigate your way around this Zolder circuit as quickly as possible. Norbert Kish, no stranger to that, of course, leading the championship standings, but he will have the attentions of Sascha Lenz behind, not only in the championship, not only in the races, but in qualifying as well. The number 30 machine just sat behind for SL Truck Sport. And now it's just about finding some clean air, I think. But as they roar under the bridge towards the Villeneuve chicane through Boutet, everybody just really starting to tiptoe around, I think, make sure they can find that clear air and then work forward in this qualifying session. The times will very quickly start to pour in as well. So it'll be Norbert Kish, the first driver onto a timed lap. So we'll have to keep an eye on our timing screen. But Norbert Kish, you can hear he's not really pushing the truck to its absolute limits as you get. There's no real need to. He's more than happy, just sat biding his time at the moment. In towards Bolderberg-Bocht. And in towards Jochen-Rindt-Bocht. We're drifting on the exit of the hairpin there. That's probably one of the best ways to get the rear tyres up to temperature. Everybody following suit. And very shortly, we will see some drivers going on to time laps, and we'll see these trucks at absolute full chat, using the full potential of their machinery. In towards Jackie Ixbocht for the first time in qualifying, and Norbert Kish will be going on to a flying lap this time by, as well as the rest of the grid, followed by Sascha Lenz, of course. So will Sascha be able to pick up any sort of benefit from the trucks in front? Potentially we could see that slowly start to play a part, but on towards the flying laps now, 17 minutes of the session remaining, and you can see sideways in towards turn 1, very much steering the truck with the rear there, was Norbert Kish. Everybody else pushing forward now. You can see there is Jochen Hahn, just sat behind the number 44 is Steffi Halm in the Iveco. And then we have the number 20 Freightliner of Teo Calvé for Bagheera Racing. Everybody just working their way into this qualifying session. Very wide was Teo Calvé there, managed to get the moment collected up. A little kick of gravel using all of the road he has available to him. Getting very close to that white line, if not on it there. So very brave driving on Teo. Still pushing forward, however. And with Bagheera being the only Freightliner entrance in the series, we are seeing them spread out across the field fairly evenly at the moment, which is of course great to see. It shows there isn't any major performance differences between everybody. There is the number 1 of Jochen Hahn, the water-cooled brakes steaming away as he's hard on the brakes into the Klein chicane. Then under the bridge we go, back in towards the Villeneuve chicane, another heavy braking zone. You carry all that momentum as you go back down the hill. Almost got to turn and brake into the Villeneuve chicane, so a very tricky braking zone to get absolutely nailed. There is the number 11 of Andre Kurzim under the bridge as well. And here is the number 24 of Stefan Haas in his Scania under the bridge as well. We cut back round to Bolderberg-Bocht, and there is Jochen Hahn. We will have times posted now. It is Norbert Kish up at the top, a 249.041. So we will see whether he can further improve that as the session wears on. There we go. We are now getting the times posted, and it is, yes, Norbert Kish up at the top of the times, a 1 minute 57.436. You can see them on the left-hand side of your screen now, followed by Sascha Lenz, just 2 tenths back with a 1:57.633. It's only getting closer, however, because the number 1 machine of Jochen Hahn is currently sat there in 3rd place now, provisionally only 0.002 of a second of Sascha Lenz. So if that's how close they're getting in qualifying, how close are they going to get in the races? Then we have Adam Lachko, currently sat there in 4th place. It's around about 3 tenths off Norbert Kish's time. And another 3 tenths back we get to Antonio Albacetti. But everything is slowly starting to work its way together now. We are getting some more competitive times being posted. But it's still Norbert Kish with that blistering time up at the top of affairs. A 1:57.436 does put him on provisional pole position. Still with 14 minutes of this qualifying session remaining here at Zolder. Of course, we are here for what is in theory round 5, but it's only the 3rd weekend of racing. We have races 9, 10, 11 and 12 here this weekend. If you are new to the series, hello everybody and welcome to the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. We are here at Zolder in Belgium for round 5, in theory, the 3rd race meeting of the season. Norbert Kish leading qualifying at the moment, provisionally leading the championship, and after another couple of wins last time out, he's really got the momentum with him. Here we're looking now at the number 24 and the number 20 machine. Here is Stefan Faas just cooling everything down and then warming everything back up, in theory, ready for the next flying lap. We will see everybody opening the taps once again, getting ready for yet another qualifying lap. But Norbert Kish, nobody can top him during this qualifying session. So the top 10 separated by around about 1.5 seconds. But I'm sure the gaps will yet further dissipate as the final half of qualifying will take over in the next 12 minutes. Everybody working their way in towards the pit lane. So it's Norbert Kish followed by Lenz, and then it's the number 55 machine of Lachko, number 24 of Stefan Faas, and then the number 23 of Antonio Alberthetti, all in towards the pit lane. Everybody expected to follow suit. And while the circuit falls quiet for a few moments, it's only really going to be hotting up in qualifying. We do have one of our Freightliners still out and circulating, so one of the Bagheera machines will pick them up as they come by. I think that could have potentially been... It was the number 20 of Teo Calvet, who has gone out for another flying lap. So has the number 17 machine of Shane Brereton behind the wheel of his MAN, so he has continued on for another flying lap as well. Both drivers making the most of a fairly clean track, and then we're seeing a little bit more go on in the background. I think I spotted Andre Kurzim also out for another flying lap, but leading this little train going round at the moment, it is the number 20 of Teo Calvet. And on first glance, you might find it difficult to pick between all of the Bagheera machines, but Teo Calvet has the blue flashes, so blue wing mirrors, blue, in theory, headlights. And Aliar Kolok, he has the orange flashes, and Adam Lachko has yellow flashes, so that is the way you can spot between the Bagheera Freightliners. In towards the Villeneuve chicane, hard on the brakes. Flicks it in towards the right, flicks it over the curb for the left, and then back right once again, so the weight really being thrown around in these trucks. Then towards Boulderberg Bocht, very heavy braking zone once again, because you go over the rise earlier on, and then down the hill, hard on the brakes, use all the circuit you can. There you go, all the way up to the grass. Plenty of curb available on the entry and on the exit, and then it's powering through the Jockenrindspot towards Jackie Xbox as well. The final chicane here at Zolder. Let's have a look to see what has gone on there. That's the number 25 machine of Heinrich Clemens Hecker, one of the trucks we do have an onboard camera with this weekend, but I'm afraid he won't be going any further in this qualifying session. So at the moment, the number 25 machine, currently 12th provisionally in this qualifying session, has pulled over to the right-hand side of the circuit before he finds his way towards the Klein chicane. Sat stationary on the right-hand side of the road, evidently with some sort of issue with that MAN, so it means anybody who was planning on going on to a flying lap will not be able to get there, and the red flags are out. No surprise there. We need to make sure that truck is safely recovered so everybody can get back towards their racing speed. So the clock has been stopped, and the number 11 machine of Andre Kurzim cannot improve. I wonder whether Teo Calvet managed to improve upon that time. The last time through, he did a 1:58.574, which was good enough for 8th place. So I do think he did improve last time out, and there we go. You can see the right-hand side of that truck dip down towards the ground. So whether it's a puncture or some sort of suspension issue, I don't know. Potentially just a puncture there, but lots of steam, lots of smoke. And there you go. The lights go out in a few moments' time on that truck, so loses all sort of power. and he can't really do much about it at this point. All he can do is sit there and wait for somebody to come and rescue him, I think. But you can see everybody who was out and circulating has got to work their way back towards the pit lane. The number 11 machine there of Andre Curzon in his Iveco, steam billowing from those front brakes, getting everything cooled down before he gets ready to hopefully get back underway. There is the number 29 machine of Alia Kolok. The red flashes on his Bagheera machine. He does have Luke Garrett just sat behind him, very close indeed, as well as the number 64 machine of Luis Riquenco, one of the newer drivers to the series. But everybody back towards the pit lane once again, so it's, for some drivers, the third time they've been there in one qualifying session. Of course, they were sat waiting to leave the pit lane at the start. They have either come back into the pit lane after their flying lap, and now they are back in for a third time, of course, for this red flag. So hopefully everything gets back underway shortly. But of course, the main priority has to be getting that number. I can't remember who it was. We have to get that truck retrieved. It's the number 25 machine, Heinrich Clemens-Hecker, in the Iveco. Of course, we need to make sure that truck is safely out of the way, and then allow the mechanics to get to work on that machine. So I'm sure the Clemens-Hecker team will be eager to get that truck opened up and figure out what's wrong with it. The marshals there and the circuit staff all coordinating very efficiently as well, of course, to make sure everything gets back underway. But clambering out of the cab is Heinrich Clemens-Hecker. You can see probably not amused after how his qualifying is going, but he's more or less just sat on the side of the road with very little to do. He is currently 12th provisionally in qualifying, barring any further improvements from anybody else. But the JCB telehandler on its way to retrieve that truck. Hecker has damage to his turbocharger, we're hearing, so Hecker will play no further part in today's qualifying session, and the Clemens-Hecker team will have to make sure that they can repair that truck ready for race 1 today. Race 1 live stream will be going live at 12:05 BST, and that is, of course, 1:05 local time. So they've got a few hours to make sure they can get everything sorted. Let's hope that no oil has been deposited out of that truck. If it has, we do get it all swept away with cement dust. It looks like the marshals are pretty hot on that already, making sure that they make the track safe once again. And one of the circuit vehicles there and ready to pick up Clemens-Hecker's truck. And all we've got to do is wait for the incredibly efficient circuit staff to get everything safe and ready for more on-track action. Of course, a massive thank you to our marshals and the whole of the circuit staff, because without them we wouldn't be able to go motor racing. So a massive thank you to everybody that plays a part. You can see everybody making sure they get everything set and ready before they get that number 25 MAN machine ready to go. Now it's just really a waiting game, but at the moment, if we look back to qualifying, it was Norbert Kisch that managed to top the times, a 1:57.436, and then it was Sascha Lenz in provisional P2 with a 1:57.633. Of course, we've got to remember the top 10 will be eligible for the Super Pole, so we've got all that to look forward to. In provisional P3 before the red flag was the number 1 machine of Jochen Hahn. Then the number 55 of Adam Lachko with a 1:57.750, only 0.3 off Norbert Kisch at the top of the times. A few of the drivers only completing 3 laps, and most of the others completed 5 laps, so differing laps between everybody. I think that was just the difference between who went into the pit lane after their first flying lap and who stayed out. In 5th place was Antonio Alberthetti And 6th was the number 77 machine of René Reina. And it was Shane Brereton, who was, in theory, on provisional pole in the Chrome class, 7th place overall. He completed 5 laps with a 158.533 being the quickest. Then it was Teo Calvé, who we saw a fair bit of action from in that qualifying session. He was definitely one to watch behind the wheel of his Bagheera Freightliner. But he was sat there in 8th place, provisional P8. Provisional P9 before the red flag was the number 44 machine of Steffi Harm. And then in provisional P10, we get back to Jamie Anderson in the number 33 machine. But as everybody works together to make sure they can get the MAN retrieved, and we are hearing the number 33 of Jamie Anderson, previously mentioned, we do have an interview from. So Christopher, down to you.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe just a short interruption, Jamie. Jamie, hello. How is it so far? How's the qualifying?
Yeah, it's not too bad. We sort of did one fast lap to see where everyone was positioned. And a couple of people moved up places that put us into P10, but at the minute we're happy where we are. And then hopefully when the red flag gets released, we do another fast lap.
And what are the difficulties, the challenges of this course?
The big points of this course is big acceleration zones, big braking zones. So you have to be right on point with your braking zones, or you can lose a lot of time.
Okay, good luck, thank you. That was Jamie Anderson for us. Whoops. And now back to you.
So a very quick word there from Jamie Anderson, of course, currently sat in provisional P10, the 3rd fastest Chrome driver as it stands. If you are new to the series, the drivers are separated into 2 classes, Titan and Chrome. Chrome is for the drivers that are maybe new to the series, or they're fairly new to motorsport altogether. They will be put into the Chrome class. The Titan class is for the for the drivers more accustomed to motorsport and truck racing. So if you want to qualify for the Titan class, it's for any of the drivers that have been a champion in the last 10 years. So it's a very broad range of drivers. We could see returning drivers from returning champions even from 9 years ago and still qualify for that that Titan class. For also drivers finishing in the top 8 overall last season, and drivers with a better finishing position than 6th in any Super Pole sessions last season as well. So if you have an incredible Super Pole session or a qualifying session last season, it could mean you qualify for that Titan Pro class. And a rather sizable puddle of oil has been left underneath Heinrich Clementhecker's truck. But the number 25 MAN now being retrieved. The incredibly efficient circuit staff and marshals have done a brilliant job to make sure the circuit will be back to its safe racing conditions. And everybody now just dissipating as the truck has been retrieved. And I'm sure we'll be back under green flag conditions very, very shortly. But with that turbocharger issue, it really isn't ideal there. But the number 23 machine, Antonio Alberthetti, we have an interview. Christopher, down to you.
Thank you, Antonio. How was it outside on the track today?
Good. I mean, the track is very good. It's dry. It's in good conditions. So we did a warm-up. It was quite well. You know, we are seeing that everything was okay. And now in time practice, I think that there is a track is broken an engine or something like that. So probably it's a little bit of oil on the track. So I mean, we are waiting to see what happened, and then we will see. We will see how the track is, you know. But it was in a very good conditions. So we will see now what happens.
And how happy are you with your time yet?
Well, I mean, it's not bad, but of course I have to try to be faster, you know. I did 5th, but I need to be a little bit faster to be a little bit more in front. But yeah, for the moment we are happy with the time.
Okay, thank you, good luck, and back to you.
So another quick word there from one of our drivers. That was the Spaniard Antonio Albacete, 4th in the championship standings as it stands, provisionally P5 in this qualifying session. So I am hearing we will be going green very shortly. You can see the truck now being towed into one of the service roads, making sure it's clear of the circuit. And Antonio Albacete saying the circuit was in a very good condition, so potentially we could see yet further improvements from our drivers. When we do go green, we will go back to green flag conditions with the remaining time in the session. So I think there was around about 9.5 minutes still to go in this qualifying session. So there's still plenty of time for drivers to yet further improve. The first of the drivers to head out onto the circuit will be our 6-time European Truck Racing Champion of Jochen Hahn and René Reiner, the number 77 machine. We have an interview. Christopher, down to you.
Yeah, René Reiner is just waiting for us. Thank you very much. How is it now, this waiting time, when you think you can start again?
Yeah, it was red flag now, and we have to wait till the truck is back from the track, the damaged truck. So, but now I heard it's around 1 minute, 2 minutes. We'll start again the session, and then we have 9 minutes more for the normal qualifying, and then we're waiting for the Super Pole, I hope. We are now on the 6th position. I hope we can stay on this position and we don't need to go out again. So we will see.
So how satisfied, you said 6th position, how satisfied are you with your rounds until now?
Yeah, till now, yes. The qualifying is always important to be on the top 10. Not to use the tires too much, you know, a little bit more tire also for the Super Pole. So we try always find the balance. Stay in the top 10, but don't use the tires too much. So this is a target for the qualifying.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Back to you.
So another quick word there from one of our drivers, René Reiner. Very relaxed, definitely is probably the best way to put it. Just, well, red flag, we'll hope everybody's okay, but then go back out and do what we do best. And he's definitely looking forward to it. Of course, currently sat, like he mentioned, in provisional P6, looking forward to Super Bowl if he can get back out. But we are now back under green flag conditions, and qualifying is back underway. The first of the trucks out on circuit is the number 24 machine of Stefan Faas in his Tank Pool 24 Scania. Lots of black smoke billowing from that truck, and having a quick look through the regulations, black smoke is one of the first infringements that leads to a warning, and in case of a second infringement it can in fact lead to an exclusion. So let's hope that it won't get to that. Under the bridge we go towards the Villeneuve chicane, and that's definitely a very quick warm-up lap from Stefan Faas. We will see whether he can improve upon his current position. He's currently at the very bottom end of affairs. The last lap he posted was a 2 minutes 30.689, but that was, of course, before the red flag. Only 3 laps completed, and I don't even think that lap counted, if I'm honest. So the number 24 machine desperate to get a time up on the board. Only 8 minutes remaining. Very quickly down through the gearbox, around Boulderberg box, through the quick little left-right of the Jochen Rindt box. Keep his foot to the floor before he's got to be very, very hard on the anchors up towards Jackie Ixbocht. It would be great to get an onboard camera from this truck, but sadly we don't have one this weekend. We do have 3 trucks with onboard cameras: Heinrich Clemensecker, Jamie Anderson and Norbert Kisch, so we should end up with some great views as the session wears on. There is the number 33 machine of Jamie Anderson, of course with a quick interview earlier on from him. Looking forward to potentially improving upon his time, but here is the number 24 machine thrown in towards turn 1, all the curb on the entry, all the curb on the exit. You can see gravel just wisping up there as he uses all of the circuit, but it's all down to what Stefan Faas can do on this lap. And the one after, a little bit of drifting there, all the curb once again. Well, it looks brilliant. Whether it's the quickest, I'm not 100% sure, but that truck is on rails at the moment. You can really see just from the body language of the truck, he's pushing forward and making sure he can grasp every ounce of performance from his Scania. And down the straight once again towards the Klein chicane, hard on the brakes. You'll see the nose of the truck dip there, and then Got to be careful not to use too much curb because they are quite steep. You weave your way between the bollards and then back on the throttle. Up the hill you go, underneath the bridge, through Boutet, and then in towards the Villeneuve chicane. The camera isn't even quick enough to catch it there. So Stefan Fast really on a mission. Villeneuve chicane now. Quick right, left, avoid the curbs, and then back right once again. You can hear the turbo flutter, and he's just riding the absolute edge of adhesion there. Really getting the most performance he can out of his Scania. Pushing back down towards the Boulderberg box now. Hard on the brakes. Now you can see the nose of the truck really dip down, braking sideways, and that is braking too late. So that is Stefan Fast going straight on at the Boulderberg box. And you can see he did lock the rear tyres. Massive set of 11s down towards that hairpin. So that's the last thing he needed, having not set a time so far in the session. Only just under 6 minutes of the session remaining now. So he's got to make sure, barring any issue that may have caused that, he needs to get another lap posted. Looking now at Steffi Halm in the Iveco. She is working her way through Stur and Vochtbocht. And then back through Kanalbocht in a few moments' time. Just a fairly slow lap now, whether it be an in or an out lap. I'm not 100% sure. At the moment, provisional 9th position in that number 44 machine. 1.2 seconds off our current pole sitter of Norbert Kisch. 158.691 previously posted by that number 44. You can see it on the left-hand side of your screen, the gaps in the top 10. And of course, the top 10 are the drivers that qualify for Superpole. So all that to look forward to. Ticking past 5 minutes remaining in the session now. So drivers looking for improvements. We'll just have to keep an eye on the timing screen to see who does improve. Got lots of drivers out and circulating. There is the bottom 15. Of course, Stefan Fast would make up in the would make up the full 16, but having not set his time yet, he will not appear on the current standings. I think we have had an improvement for Alia Kolok in his Bagheera Freightliner, up into provisional P13 now. 3.3 seconds off our pole sitter, a 2 minute .763 posted. And now we are seeing yet further improvements, everybody chopping and changing. That is the number 11 of Andre Kurzim, working his way right the way up into provisional P6. That has moved Briaton, Calvé and Halm down positions. We've seen an improvement for Luis Riquenco in the number 64 MAN. Using all the curbs, jumping the truck through the Klein chicane is Jamie Anderson there. There is a very slow number 29 of Alia Kolok, having just improved. You can see the water pouring out from underneath the trucks as he desperately tries to cool down the brakes. Suspension being worked through the Villeneuve chicane. Jamie Anderson really pushing forward now. All the curb on the exit, flicks it in towards the right once again. And now it's pushing forward, over the crest we go, and then hard on the brakes in towards the Boulderberg box. Through the hairpin, through the Jochenrindbocht. And now pushing forward towards the Jackie X-Bocht. Very late on the brakes, or as late as he can get away with. Through the final corner. And heading towards the line for what could potentially be the final time, barring any issue. Unless he gets a very quick cool down time done. Anderson towards the line, does he improve? Yes, he does. A 1 minute 58.673 posted. And that does make him eligible for Superpole. He is just about squeezed into the Superpole times by very little margin indeed. Just to look at that briefly, 200ths of a second is the difference between being in and being out of Superpole at the moment. There is the number 44 machine of Steffi Halm, the driver that was demoted out of Superpole. So let's hope that she can work her way back in to that Superpole qualification. Leah Kolok, whereabouts is she at the moment? She's towards the bottom end of the order, unfortunately, by very little time indeed. There's only about 300ths of a second between her and Heinrich Clementecker in the number 25 machine. That's currently P14 and P15. In towards the hairpin once again, the number 44 machine, Steffi Halm. Looks like she's potentially on a flying lap. You can't really tell by the body language of that truck. You'll see the drivers have very different driving styles. You could see drivers pretty much steering the truck with the tail and other drivers steering the truck with the front. There is Andre Curzim in towards the pit lane. You can see he's left a trail of water behind as he's desperately trying to cool down the brakes before he gets in towards the pit lane. And is Steffi Halm destined for the pit lane as well? I think potentially she is. No, she isn't. She's going to go back onto a flying lap. So through the Jackie X-Box, and now we will see her go on to another flying lap. Who's that in the distance? Is that Jamie Anderson? I couldn't quite pick it out while we were looking, but there is Teo Calvet in towards the Klein chicane, over the curb, this time not quite as violent as the number 33 of Jamie Anderson last time we saw him. Under the bridge we go, in towards the Villeneuve chicane. So Calvet at the moment currently sat in provisional P9, a 1 minute 58.574 is his fastest so far. Through the chicane we go, a little flick of oversteer. You hear the turbocharger flutter just as he lifted off to get the truck squared away once again. The tail end does get checked back in, and now pushing forward towards the Boulderberg box. We saw, of course, a bit of a moment there for Stefan Faas. I haven't heard anything more yet about Stefan Faas, but he hasn't set a time, so potentially some sort of issue for him as well. But the number 20 of Teo Calvet in his Bagheera Freightliner towards the Jackie X-Box for what will be the final time as the clock ticks to 0. Through the chicane we go, the last chance for Teo Calvet to improve. Coming towards the timing beam now. Does he improve upon his time? At the moment he's currently in provisional P9. Yes, he does, right the way up to provisional P7, a 1 minute 58.414 posted. So a great improvement from Calvet within a second of Norbert Kies's provisional pole time. You can see the checkered flag being readied for any further drivers to come towards the line. This is a great camera angle. We'll just have to wait for any further drivers to swing by to see whether we can get any further improvements. You can see just how close it is between the top three. Only 0.2 of a second and only 0.002 of a second separating Jochen Hahn and the number 30 of Sasha Lenz. Here is Steffi Halm, I believe, towards the line. Can she improve her time? Crosses the line now. No, I don't believe she can. Last time through was a 1:59.593, almost a second off her fastest time so far in the session. So she will have to settle for 11th place at the moment. Here is Jamie Anderson, I believe, at first glance, coming towards the line. Currently sat in provisional P10. Can he improve? No, he's going very slowly over the line. So that should secure him into the Super Pole session. Currently sat in P10. We've got a very quick truck coming around the final corner in the background. Let's try and pick out who that is towards the line. Do we see any improvements? We don't see any improvements on the timing screen. So nobody can really improve at this late stage of the session. 1.2 seconds separating the top 10 to our pole sitter of Norbert Kies. Of course, the top 10 is very much provisional because we do have Super Pole on the way. But everybody sat stationary in the pit lane. There is the number 11 machine. Oh, sorry, the number 41 machine of Norbert Kies. Provisional pole sitter, of course, sat there waiting for all of the trucks to work their way back in towards the pit lane and the Super Pole session to get underway. Jochen Hahn just sat in front of him with René Renner sat behind. He managed to remain in provisional P6 after the interview, so he didn't really have to go out and circulate any further. But leaving the pit lane, I think we can see the red lights sat at the end of the pit lane, so they're all just reworking their way into the order. But as soon as those red lights are extinguished, they will be able to go out and rejoin the circuit for the Super Pole session here, the first Super Pole session of the weekend. and it will decide the grid for race 1 of the weekend in just a few hours' time. There are the lights that denote whether you can or can't take to the circuit. So it's the number 41 of Norbert Kish. Circuit official there reorganising everybody. Jochen Hahn will be shifted a few places back. You can hear the obligatory audible warning sound that the truck is reversing, and funnily enough, that is actually part of the regulations. Trucks must be fitted with an audible warning that sounds when reverse gear is engaged. That has to be fitted on every single one of the trucks. So somewhat of a comedy feature of the trucks, but very much useful as well, because while they are very loud and very visible, there's still the potential, if you've got ear defenders on or you're looking the wrong way, that you might not be able to see one coming. There is the number 30 machine of Sascha Lenz towards the end of the pit lane. Jochen Hahn will just sit in waiting behind, and everybody is somewhat ready to go out for their Super Bowl session. So it's all just about patience now, waiting for the green lights to show at the end of the pit lane. And there we go. There is Norbert Kish working his way forward, but he definitely won't be going out onto the circuit as the red lights are still lit at the end of the pit lane. So Faas got the back, has the black flag. That's Stefan Faas. We saw him having some braking issues in towards the Jochen Rindsbocht earlier on in this session, and he does have a black flag, I'm hearing, having to after he had to change his engine control unit. So that means that Stefan Faas picking up that black flag there. He won't have set a time in that qualifying session because of that. But it's now down to this top 10. And we'll see how the grid for race 1 will work its way into an order in just a few moments' time. Now it's all just about waiting. There is the number 86 machine of Luke Garrett. That's just at the exit of Stern Vochtbocht towards the escape road, and I do now think that is the track clear. So in a few moments' time, I'm sure we will get the Super Bowl session underway. Red lights still lit. As previously mentioned, as soon as they are extinguished, we will be able to go racing, in theory. Racing for the grid, let's go with, racing for the grid. But it's all just now about waiting for those red lights to dissipate. Norbert Kish sat being very patient with all of the trucks sat behind him. Championship leader, of course. He won race 1 last time out at Most. 3 points in the lead, and now a red light's flashing. And there we go. Red lights extinguished, green lights on, and towards the Super Bowl session we go. So 10 minutes of Super Bowl on the way. And this will decide the top 10 starting positions for race 1 of the weekend. Riding on board with our fastest driver so far this weekend, Norbert Kish, heading towards the pit exit, brings him out just before Stern Vochtbocht on the inside. So somewhat of a tricky pit exit if you've got trucks behind you. Thankfully, with an empty track, it's not something you really have to worry about. But there is Norbert Kish just getting everything up to temperature once again. The same with Sascha Lenz sat behind. And then we have Jochen Hahn, Adam Lachko, Antonio Albacete, René Reina, and Theo Calvet, as well as Andre Kurzim. And who else do we have out? The number 17 machine of Shane Brereton are the 10 drivers that have qualified for Super Pole. Sascha Lenz getting quite up close and personal there with Norbert Kish as they get everything up to temperature. So working the tyres, working the brakes, just to make sure that they get a suitable amount of heat in them to get within that optimal operating window, ready for this qualifying session, or the Super Bowl session if you will, through the Villeneuve chicane. Curb on the inside, curb on the outside, everybody just making sure while the pressures are fairly low, they avoid any sort of rash moves in the trucks. They don't go rattling it over the curbs or doing too many power slides, because the last thing you want to do is tear a tyre with only 8 minutes of the session now remaining, so it will be about 7 by the time we start seeing drivers go onto their first flying laps. There will only be about 5 minutes remaining, even after only 1 flying lap. So round the Boulderberg Bocht towards the final couple of corners in a few moments' time. Norbert Kies just getting everything up to temperature. This is the final time that he will have to work the tyres before he goes on to his first flying lap of this Superpole session. So everything getting wound up now. Through the final chicane he goes, followed by Sascha Lenz, and then Jochen Hahn behind, all of the circuit on the exit, and now everybody slowly starts to wind their way on towards their first flying laps. The number 41 machine of Norbert Kies working his way forward, hard on the brakes, throws it in towards turn 1. The sun has come out now, the clouds have dissipated, so the track temperature will slowly start to rise. So some drivers may potentially favour a slightly warmer track. Norbert Kies, all of the circuit very well controlled there, a little flick of oversteer, but adjusted for suitably with a little bit of opposite lock. Sascha Lenz following along in towards the right-hander of Lucien Bianchi Bocht. Quite a deceptive corner there. You can take it quite a lot quicker than you actually think. Now heading towards the Klein chicane, hard on the brakes. Through the chicane we go, not using too much curb. You can get away with a bit, but too much can potentially rupture a tyre or slowly start to damage the suspension. And I don't think it's really any quicker. As long as the tyres are on the ground, you'll be able to put the power down. Through the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, Norbert Kies still absolutely on the limit. Sascha Lenz, you can see visibly that the gap has come out a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if Norbert Kies posts a time just a couple of tenths quicker at the moment. But now heading towards the Boulderberg Bocht, very, very heavy braking zone. You can see the elevation change, hard on the brakes, down a gear or two, and then throw it in towards the right-hander. So too does Sascha Lenz. Jochen Hahn nowhere to be seen in the background, so this top two really working their way forward. Down the back straight we go, and then in towards the Jackie X Bocht. Hard on the brakes there. The nose of the truck dives down. Then with only 5.5 minutes of this Superpole session remaining, we do start to see some times being posted. So towards the timing line now, Norbert Kies, the time set as he crosses the line, a 1:56.759. So we are into the 1 minute 56s, and over half a second behind is Sascha Lenz, a 1:57.303. The next truck to cross the line is indeed Jochen Hahn, who does post a 1:56.743, only 16 thousandths quicker than Norbert Kies, but 16 thousandths is still quicker. And there you go, up to the top of Superpole, provisionally of course, goes Jochen Hahn. Then everybody else working their way in. Antonio Albacete, then the number 55 of Adam Lachko, René Reiner, and then the number 11 of Andre Kursim as well. Shane Brereton and the number 20 of Teo Calvet, all posting times so far, just waiting for Jamie Anderson to post the time. But a brilliant lap time nonetheless from Jochen Hahn. Of course, our 6-time European truck racing champion. He definitely knows what he's doing behind the wheel of these trucks in the Iveco. Of course, that number 1 machine being somewhat of a development season this season. Next season, we will see everything being sort of redefined and worked together once again. Everything will work in tandem slightly more efficiently, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jochen Hahn just finds an extra gear next season and really starts to work his way forward in the championship once again. Now sat behind Sascha Lenz, so potentially he'll have to lift off a little bit or work his way past just to try and get into some clean air. Very, very close to the tail end of the number 30 SL Truck Sport MAN. You can see there Norbert Kies working his way through the hairpin once again. Jochen Hahn has managed to work his way in front of Sascha Lenz. And then through the Boulderberg Bocht and the Jochen Bocht towards the final couple of corners. Jochen Hahn pulls over to the left-hand side of the circuit, And back onto another flying lap goes Norbert Kish. So does Sascha Lenz. Does Jochen Hahn follow suit? Yes, he does, having just got in front. Sascha Lenz lets him back by, and then they go back to their flying laps. So onto the second of their flying laps goes Norbert Kish, then goes Sascha Lenz, then goes provisional pole sitter at the moment of Jochen Hahn. Through the first corner we go. On the edge of adhesion once again is Norbert Kish. Only 16 thousandths to find, 17 thousandths to go provisional pole, 16 thousandths to tie up at the top, but if he only finds 16 thousandths, it will go to Jochen Hahn as he sets the fastest time, or as he set the same time, but earlier on in the session. And Sascha Lenz with over half a second to find if he wants to be in with a shout of a front row start. Jochen Hahn in the background going fairly slowly, 2 minutes and 10 seconds of this Super Pole session remaining, so he'll have to get round and then get on to another flying lap if he wants to extend that provisional pole margin. Norbert Kish under the bridge we go, back towards the Villeneuve chicane once again. Jamie Anderson posting his first time in the session. Through the chicane we go. You can see that front left tyre rattling over the curbs. So too does Sascha Lenz. No surprise there. Riding on board now with the number 41 of Norbert Kish. Through the Terlemenbocht towards the hairpin once again. Late on the brakes. Gets it chucked in, down a couple of gears. Once again, foot to the floor. Get everything spooled up. Of course, you can go from 20 to 100 miles an hour in the same speed as a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, so no surprise he puts his foot to the floor. It must be a brilliant experience. Heading down towards the Jackie X-Box, over the curbs on the left, over the curbs on the right, and then towards the timing beam once again. Can he improve upon his fastest time? A 156.759 was his fastest time so far in the session. Can he improve? Yes, he can, to the top of the times. 58 thousandths of a second clear, a 156.685 posted. No improvement for Sascha Lenz, but we do have a new provisional pole sitter, Norbert Kish, up to the top of the times. Like I say, 58 thousandths quicker than Jochen Hahn. There is the number 55 of Adam Lachko coming towards the line, followed by the number 23 of Antonio Alberthetti. Any improvements from either of those two? Nothing as of yet. There is the number 20 of Theo Calvert. There, more importantly, is Jochen Hahn on the left-hand side of the circuit, not going as quickly as I'd expected, so he will have to settle for, at the very least, provisional P2 at the moment. Andre Kurzim does improve upon his time, does improve upon his position as well, up into 6th place, provisionally of course as well, 158.112 posted, as the time ticks to 0. So anybody who has just entered onto a flying lap will be allowed to complete it, but anybody who crosses the line from here on out will have to slow down, cool down, and return to the pit lane at the end of their lap. But Norbert Kish, what a lap time. A 156.685 is the pole time so far, barring any improvement from anybody else. I'm not sure whether Sascha Lenz continued on to another lap, but of course, a lap around here, 2 minutes of action. And with these trucks running at absolute full chat, I'm sure everything gets fairly hot. So the last thing you want to do is go and do another lap off the back of a flying lap and overheat anything. And it looks like everybody is just cooling down now. So I think the times you can see on the left-hand side of your screen will be the times we see here for the qualifying sessions for race 1. Of course, race 1 goes off qualifying and Superpole. Race 2 goes off the finishing positions from race 1 with the top 8 reversed. So that throws a spanner in the works for some of the drivers. But it is a great recipe for some really close racing. Norbert Kish, I can't get over that lap time. We thought the 57s were quick. We saw some 57s yesterday in free practice. And we saw some 57s in qualifying as well. But Superpole, the gloves are off. Everybody just throws everything they've got at it. And Norbert Kish, by the finest of margins, 58 thousandths of a second, only half a tenth, manages to snatch pole position. And you can see the checkered flag there. Everybody just cooling down But Norbert Kish into the pit lane, a great lap time. Jochen Hahn has to settle for second place. I think he did have the time, whether he had the temperature in the truck to go for another lap. We have a truck negotiating the final corner, coming towards the line for the final time. A couple of trucks following suit as well. I think potentially we saw Sacha Lenz coming towards the line, crossing the line now, not necessarily at racing speed. I think that was Shane Brereton coming towards the line there. He's the number 77 of René Reiner, crossing the line as well. And now everybody's just got to work their way back to the pit lane, but a brilliant qualifying session, a brilliant Superpole session as well. The top 9 separated by just over 2 seconds. And then Jamie Anderson not really posting that competitive of a time in that session, but it has secured him 10th for race 1 of the weekend. That's all he needs to do. There is the number 77 of René Reiner. He said he wanted to get into Superpole. He's done so and is sat in 7th place. We do have an interview down in the pit lane, so over to you, Christopher.
Yeah, I have the chief engineer from Norbert Kish, Shaba, Baco. Yeah, congratulations, that was a real fight.
Yes, thank you very much. Finally, it was a really exciting qualification. As the first fast lap, Jochen Hahn was faster than us. But luckily, the second fast lap, we were just a bit faster. So it's a lucky day, I guess. It was really good.
So how were your tactics and what was decisive to get the Superpole?
Well, we are really happy of that, of course. Well, after the first fast lap, we were a bit worried that we will start in P2, but to be fair, P2 is also pretty good. So, yeah, P1, we are really happy with that.
Thank you very much, and good luck for the race. And back to you.
So great stuff there. Clearly over the moon with that qualifying. Just at the top end of affairs was Norbert Kish. That was his engineer. Thank you very much, Christopher, for the great interviews you've provided us throughout the early stages of this weekend. But with what was a very close qualifying session, an even closer Superpole session, we will have the grids made up for us for race 1. There are a couple of our incredibly efficient marshals. Massive thank you to them, of course, as well. Without them, we wouldn't be able to go racing. So thank you very much for giving up your weekends, and I'm sure you get the best view in the house sat at the edge of the circuit. Everybody just working their way around the pit lane back in towards the paddock, using that escape road on the inside of the exit of Staden Voxbocht. And I'm sure in a few moments' time we will have the grid available to us. But that's lots of horsepower working their way in towards the paddock. Please do let us know what you thought of that qualifying session. No surprise if you enjoyed it. There we go. There are the qualifying results. Norbert Kish is on pole position, a 1:56.685 posted, and Jochen Hahn sat there in second place, just 58 thousandths. Separates him from Norbert Kish at the top. Then it's Sacha Lenz and Antonio Alberthetti in their MANs. Then it's Adam Lachko in the first of the Bagheera Freightliners, followed by Andre Kurzim. Then it's René Reiner and Shane Brereton in 8th place, followed by Theo Calvé and Steffi Halm in Iveco. Then it's Alia Kolok in the final of the Bagheera Freightliners, followed by Luis Riquenco, Luke Garrett and Heinrich Clementecker with that turbo issue. So let's hope that his engineers can get that fixed for race 1. We do have an interview with Lucas Hahn, the son of Jochen Hahn. Down to you, Christopher.
Yeah, what an exciting Superpole. Lucas, how you followed it. You're also a successful driver. What are your thoughts about this Superpole and this qualifying?
Yeah, it is really hard fight between the Superpole, but it's also very important to stay at the first line for the race. And yeah, it was just only a small gap between Norby and Jochen. And yeah, we will see what the race is going. And yeah, it's a very good goal for us.
What do you think about the chances for your father now? He's in the first row.
Yeah, we will look that we can stay in the front and push Norby a little bit and maybe go in front of him. but we will look how constant we are for the race, and I think we will do it great, and we will see what the races go.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was the qualifying and the Super Bowl, and we see you at the race.
So a very quick word there from Lucas Hahn, the son of Jochen Hahn. Great stuff.